Yeah, man. So John MacArthur, he said, "I too like to live dangerously." I guess. He he made some statements recently that man, I don't know, like the response. He had to know kind of the responses that he was going to get, but for those of you who haven't necessarily seen or heard that, we're going to get to it. We're going to play a little clip for you in a minute, but he took things like PTSD, ADHD, and referred to them as noble lies, and people have a reaction to this. So we're gonna get into that. Also, what's beef? Apparently, beef is what tears.
So what's for dinner?
Well, there's also, apparently
Wait,
it's what
that's
CHH
pork.
lives on. It's what CHH lives on, I guess. Christian hip hop being torn apart by beef that has nothing to do with the genre, really. So we got all that, some more. We got a special guest hanging out with us tonight. It is a special edition of 520 iXc. Normally we're here on Monday nights. We'll be back here next Monday. But we had some conflicts this week. Moved it, and so it's a special Thursday show. That's why I got my special Thursday Kansas City Royals camouflage hat going on tonight. But it is Thursday, May 9th, 2024, 520 iXc. And y'all already know I am Eric Boston. You can hit me up on X at Eric Boston3. That's Eric Boston number 3. Would love to hear from you. Let me know what's going on in your world, man. So, fellas, so a couple of us teachers did a paperwork day today, right? And for lunch, we went out and we got some pizza, and they're like, how many slices do you want? And I was like, well, just have them cut it into 4 slices. I'll eat that. Don't have them cut it into 8. I don't want them to think that I'm that hungry. I'll take the 4 slices. So, but anywho, man, my guy, Big Swiss is back in the building.
Actually, so funny enough, that's actually how I cut my pizzas. I'm not lying. I cut them in the 4s and just go to town on them. But yeah, Big Swiss back. You can catch me on X or Instagram at Big Swiss CHH. Excited to be back. Missed you guys. Vacation was fun. I was in Idaho. I was on the West Coast time slot where Just James is at. And it was a beautiful, cool 55 degrees the whole time I was there. And then I got back to this 95-degree Dallas weather. So take me back.
How many bags of potatoes did you bring home?
0.
I'm disappointed in you.
0 potatoes. But I didn't really bring anything back, to be honest.
I'm very disappointed, dude. Did you eat some potatoes while you were there at least?
No.
Man. Okay. Moving on. Special guest in the house. Just James joining the show for the first time.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be a part of this. And yeah, man. Like Big Swiss said, man, you can find me on Twitter, JustJames916, Instagram, JustJames916. Also, I'm a co-host for Elevate Life Radio, as you see in the background there, where my finger disappeared. And yeah, man. So God is good, man. Thankful to be here.
Love it, man. Yeah, glad that you're here. We're going to get into some more of what's going on with you here in a little bit. But before we jump into the show, I want to make sure to give everyone watching a reminder. Make sure you join up for our Substack email and newsletter. Just go to 520collective.com/Substack or 520collective.com/newsletter to get signed up. It is free, although you do have the choice. You see it right here in this blue button in the upper right corner. You can do a paid subscription as little as $5. And along with the extras that you get access to on the Substack, you also can become a producer of the 520 iXc show by becoming a paid member there on Substack. Would love for you guys to do that. Support the show. If you find value in it, put a little bit of value back in. That's how we are able to move forward. So, and also, man, I was looking at this.
Hey, wait, pull that image back up real quick, though. I got a question.
Huh?
Was KD in a Hype Williams video in that outfit? Like what?
Dude, I mean, KD lives that 1% life, and I don't understand it completely. So,
he got the jacket on and the beanie.
I don't want to like give you the wrong information. All I know is he looks glorious all the time.
Katie looks like he just walked off the set of Belly.
That's what I was about to say.
Zero looked like he just stepped off a tractor. And then you just got out of class.
Right? That's probably the truth. That's probably the truth right there, man. So, hey, but I did want to give a shout out, Swiss. I noticed this a little bit ago. We're almost at 100 members on our Twitter community.
Oh,
so
nice.
if you guys are on Twitter, make sure you go to our Twitter profile. There's a link to our Twitter community right there pinned at the top. Join the Twitter community, man. We drop some exclusive info in there from time to time. We also put invitation links to our daily devotionals that we do through the Bible app, man. So if you want to be a part of the devotionals that we do, we've got, I want to say, about a week left on the current one, and we'll be starting a new one. Make sure you become a member of our Twitter community so that you can get those links and join up for those devotionals, man. We'd love to have you on that. But yeah, man, it's good to be back here, guys. And as we said, we're going to talk a little bit about this John MacArthur comments here. Let me get this screen shared with us so we can take a listen to what was said. For those of you who have not heard it, I don't know. You may be in for something shocking. You may say amen. I don't know. Well, we're gonna go from here. Let's give this. Oh, let me mute that. Okay.
It's PTSD. There's no such thing as OCD. There's no such thing as ADHD. Those are noble lies. To basically give the excuse to, in the end of the day, to medicate people. And Big Pharma is in charge of a lot of that.
You got a point there.
If you understand, take PTSD, for example. What that really is grief. You are fighting a war, you lost your buddies, you have a certain amount of survival guilt because you made it back, they didn't. How do you deal with the grief? Grief is a real thing. But grief is part of life. And if you can't navigate grief, you can't live life. But if you clinically define that, you can give them a pill, a series of medications, and they end up in LA homeless on the sidewalk. This is in regard to children, it's the most deadly thing that's been unleashed on children, medication. We're trying to make clear to parents that behavior is essentially the result of choices that kids make. And if you parent them properly, they'll make right choices. But if you blame it on something other than their choices, and you identify them as having something they can't do anything about, but medicate it, you literally are turning your child into a potential, well, not only a potential drug addict, but maybe a potential criminal, because they never learn how to navigate life in a socially acceptable way.
All right, man. What do you guys think, man? What's your instant thoughts? I know I had a few things that popped up whenever I first heard this.
My first thought is oversimplification. I think we see a lot of times in the Bible where there is a mental health issue coming up. The first that comes to mind is Job 3, where Job is lamenting his birth and basically wanting to die. He says, why did I not die at birth, come out of the womb and expire? Why did the knees receive me? Or why did the breath? Well, I don't need to read all that part, but it also talks about, he's saying, For my sighing comes instead of my bread, and my groanings are poured out like water. For the thing that I fear comes upon me, and what I dread befalls me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, but trouble comes. Like that's not something that comes from just pure anger or pure sadness. Like that's, and I'm not saying he has a mental health issue in this specific, like a I'm not diagnosing him, but I think we see tons of times where, you know, that happens. And to say that, like, I agree completely with the big pharma thing and the kids thing. I 100% agree with that. But to say PTSD is just grieving, like, man, if you've ever watched someone get shot and you wake up in the middle of the night freaked out because something banged, that's not grief. That's trauma boiling up. I've watched my wife wake up in the middle of the night screaming because of some trauma in her past, and I've had to hold her. That's not grief. And so I think he's oversimplifying here. I do think that our culture does have a tendency to run to medication and look there. What does MD stand for? Medical doctor. It is a person who is supposed to prescribe you medicine. That is their job. My wife's a chiropractor. She's a holistic person who gives supplements versus medication. And so, I totally agree with the big pharma thing. I think he's oversimplifying here. I agree. Sometimes people can cop out on mental health. If you're not exercising, you're not eating well, and you're not in the Word regularly and talking to God, yeah, you're going to have some issues. And so, I think it's oversimplifying. I'd really be interested in watching the whole conversation here. I think maybe this. I'm afraid this might be taken out of context, but based off this clip.
Well, I think you're hitting on something that's important. I think for our conversation is if we're going to talk about what John MacArthur said here, and we're going to talk about these topics as believers, we got to come at it through that lens, right? We got to look at it from the perspective of a follower of Christ and know that we're measuring stuff up against Scripture here, right? To see what these answers are, because I think this is one thing that is almost like a balancing act here, right? Where I think there are some clear guidelines, but it's delicate. It's a delicate experience to talk about. James, what were your thoughts, man?
I'm kind of on the same page with Swiss, man. I think he definitely, me personally, like, I've known people who dealt with PTSD, ADHD, things of that nature, or at least their kids and whatnot, and for one who has kids, there was several instances where, doctors or, medical professionals who, sometimes you want to take their word for it, but a lot of times I had to use discernment in many instances where they're like, hey, your kid needs to be taking this, your kid needs to take, I'm like, nah, no, we're not going to go that avenue. We're going to go the other way, and, nothing bad came out of it. Nothing, it was perfectly fine. So I agree with him on certain points. But also, too, I do feel like this clip was probably taken out of context. It's one short clip from something, I'm pretty sure, a discussion that was probably, 45-hour long conversation. Who knows what it was? So yeah. I would like to hear the full context of it as well. But just from that clip alone, if I'm going to judge it from that standpoint, it can sound pretty insensitive, especially for those who battle PTSD and things of that nature. I had a buddy that was served our country, seen things over there in his tours that no human should witness, came back different, back different,
and I think that's part of the problem here with what he's saying, because I don't think MacArthur is as far off base as what a lot of people have said after seeing this. I think the problem is he's lumping PTSD in with like ADHD, right? And those are two things rooted in very different not experiences isn't the right word, but I mean like PTSD is rooted in trauma, right? Where something like ADHD, you're looking at like maybe
brain
like chemical
chemistry.
imbalances,
Yeah,
chemistry,
yeah.
brain, all these different things, right? And so they're not the same, first of all. So to sit there and say, okay, well, all of these fall under this umbrella, it's like, no, they're not even like walking on the same side of the street, you know?
I thought that too.
Yeah. So that's one thing I think we need to make. We probably needed to make that clear, define that better, and address them as two separate things. Because I do think that I see the biblical side of it. I'll get into that in just a minute. You know, whenever I heard this, you know, like Zero and I had a phone conversation talking about this clip. You know, and he was very passionate of like, you know, he was on MacArthur's side. He's like, yo, I've been delivered from depression and anxiety and these, you know, these thoughts that just like haunted me. He's like, I've been delivered from that. So he's like, I know, you know, that these medicines and stuff. And it made me think of that.
Then that means it exists. If he was delivered from it, that means it exists.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too. I don't think we can. We gotta be careful. It is dangerous to deny that they exist. Yeah. I think what we run into, and like, there's a lot of thoughts. So I'm gonna try to keep it organized here. Like as far as that goes, I think yes, we can acknowledge that they exist, and there's something that we need to deal with. I think part of the problem is we get some individuals who hold on to stuff instead of allowing them to be let go and fixed, right? I mean, when Jesus tells us to bring us his burdens, that he can
gentle and lowly,
burdens, right?
Yeah.
He's saying, give this stuff to me so I can take care of it. But some people want to hold on to it because, you know, they feel special when they get people's attention and they get you know, people, you know, feeling bad for them when, like, at what point you got to ask yourself, when has it been long enough? You know, that's a question. I don't know. I think about that lyric from Andy Mineo, right, where he's like talking about the medical industry. He's like, they tell them that they need drugs, but I know that they need love. You know, that's a message that we're not preaching enough of, that we're not making clear to people as well.
Yeah,
right?
well, it depends, right? Like, where are you going to seek that help, right? Like, like I said, my wife's a chiropractor. She doesn't prescribe medication, but she does nutritional testing. She does supplement testing, and she tries to help people just like get their balances back together through natural supplementation. And she's really good at it, but it takes the work of the individual to do it. And the same thing happens in the spiritual realm. You know, getting in the word and spending time with God, it's kind of like a workout. There's a discipline to it. You have to like crack at it on a daily basis to get it into your head, to get into your soul. And I understand, like, if you're in the middle of a depression bout, it makes it really hard to want to do that. So I can sympathize with that for sure. But that's why community is so important, and having people to hold you accountable. Man, I'll confess to y'all. Like I said, I was in Idaho last week. I got back and I had a mad case of post-vacation blues. I mean, I'm talking, don't talk to me, leave me alone. I just want to sit and mope. I was super sad because I just wanted to go back. Part of the reason we went to Idaho was because we were looking for land to potentially move in the future. And so I got to see a glimpse of what my future could look like, not living in this concrete jungle of Dallas with 9 million people in it to a city that had 10,000 people in it. It felt great. You know, I felt like I could breathe, and it's the first time in a while I felt that way. And I just got really sad. But then the next morning I had a meeting with some men, and we got to talk about how great God is. And man, it made me feel a lot better. And so it's how do you counteract those things when they come up?
Yeah. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
No, I agree. there's many instances in the word. I mean, obviously there wasn't terms PTSD or OCD or any of these things terms back in the biblical days, but obviously there's many instances that we can read about where there was people who were battling mental issues, demons, there's stories of this, and I just think I really want to hear what his full context was on this, because like I want to know, like I really hope that he came back or combated what he said with like love, like with bringing people back to Jesus in a sense. Like, it just sounds like fire and brimstone kind of, and like there's no such thing as this. If you believe in this, this is what it is, and whoop de whoop. And so it's I really want to know what he said beyond just that, because yeah, like that clip right there can easily be taken as like, man, this guy is a jerk. He's insensitive. This guy doesn't have no, love in his heart for people, like, and so, which I would hope that's not the case, especially for someone of his stature who's been, a man of God, preaching the word of God as long as he has. I would hope, in the following that he has, I would hope that is not the case. So, yeah. But.
Well, and when we like I said, when we separate the PTSD from like the rest of it, or take it away from like the medical side, like ADHD, I mean, that's where I'm agreeing with him, at least to an extent here, right? Where I think Swiss, you hit on it earlier, right? Like when you're talking about seeing something in kids. Like it feels like the narrative, it feels like the plan is like, man, let's just medicate the heck out of our children and not even like see what happens, but more like who cares what happens about it, right? So like we're almost starting them off at a deficit at that point, because there are a lot of kids with, I mean, and not just from medication, but from a lot of different factors, right? I mean, medication can play a part of it. The access and the addiction to like technology, I see that on a daily basis. It's putting kids in a deficit. It's making it where they're not prepared for what's required in life, So, but the only way that changes is if we're willing to see it, acknowledge it, and speak up about it, right? And try to take some action where he can. And I feel like he is trying to take some action. He's like, hey, as a whole, as a community, as the human race, this is not going to go well for us. It's kind of how I felt like he kind of got into there. Do you guys see that, or am I way off base?
I mean, yeah, a little bit. I think he's trying to say, watch out what Big Pharma is going to do to your children. I think that's a fair warning. I don't think that you should just trust every doctor. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll say from my perspective as the husband of a holistic practitioner who has worked in the medical industry and has worked in the holistic industry. And the perspective I get from her is really interesting. And I actually used to work with my wife for a while, so I got to see a lot of this stuff firsthand. The medical industry does not care about you. Like, they care about your money. That's why you have insurance. If it wasn't about that, you wouldn't need insurance. You'd go in and do it, and you'd get the care that you needed. And so the medical, like I was saying earlier, the medical doctor's job is to prescribe you medicine. They are not experts on everything in the body. They are experts on medicine. That's why you go see skilled, like if you need to go see somebody for your back, you don't go to a medical doctor, because they're just going to give you Advil or a lidocaine shot, or not a lidocaine, cortisone shot.
Oh, sorry.
And so that's just a Band-Aid, right? Like if you have a slip disc, you're just putting a Band-Aid on it, where the chiropractor will put the disc back in place and give you a plan to keep it in place. Now, that's not to say that medical doctors are bad. I'm just saying that's their expertise. You don't go to a medical doctor if you need like a heart transplant. You go see somebody, wouldn't know what they're called. Like if your foot's broken, you go see a podiatrist because they are an expert in feet. If your tooth is falling out, you don't go see a medical doctor, you go see a dentist. And yet a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, I'll just go talk to my doctor about that. And I'm like, why would you talk to your medicine? Your doctor is going to prescribe you medicine for this physical ailment that's going to do that. And so I think just a lot of people have been like trained to think that the doctor fixes everything. And that's just not true.
So let me throw this question at you guys. What does the body, what do believers, what is Christian culture, what's the approach to something like this that we need to be taking, man? Like, what do you guys feel like how do we help not only like protect against those who may have, ill intentions, may be a little extreme for me to say, but ill intentions, or not, maybe not our best, they're not worried about our best, right? Like, but not only that, but just like, how do we, show the people that are struggling with these things that love, so that they can hopefully get through that. Like, what do you guys think? How do we do that as a community?
I think just being a safe space for people to talk to you about it, right? Like my brother B Plus, who just logged in. What's up, B? I love you. If B were to call me tonight, say, hey man, I'm really struggling with something. I need to talk to you. I'm going to listen to what he has to say. I'm not going to be like, oh, you're just not praying enough. I might ask the question like, hey, how's your time in the Word? Or, hey, how's your community going? How's relationships with your wife? I'm going to like ask a lot of questions to try and find out, hey, what's going on that could in your outside factors that could be contributing to the way you're feeling, right? Because if he's not able to identify it, then great, let's ask some questions. But if he's able to tell me, then hey, what does Scripture have to say about that? Let's be reminded about God's word, and then I'm going to pray for him. Now that doesn't mean that I can pray away whatever situation happens, but it's definitely not going to happen if I don't, with him, believe that the power of prayer can do that. And so I think there's dangers on both sides, right? You have this one side that's like, you need to pray away this thing. It's not real. It's the devil. And you have people being like, well, that's not, I need to be able to feel, and I don't need God in this. And it's like, both of those sides are wrong. There has to be a middle ground where you're able to get in community, have conversations with people, make sure, hey, like I know B Plus loves to play basketball. And I know he hasn't played in a while, and he played recently, and I bet it made him feel a lot better because he got some exercise, he got outside, he got some sun in him, he got to move, he got to do something fun. And so that might even be just the thing, right? Like, hey, what have you had some time to yourself? Like, all those things are factors into doing that. So I think just being an ear and not being a quick judgment, but just asking questions and routing people to the truth.
Well, you kind of hinted at this. I think that we've got individuals who like to associate this stuff with, oh, well, man, your faith isn't strong enough, obviously, right? And that's not even. It may be coming from a place that is well intended, but that's a terrible way to come across, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's where it comes into like really just knowing what the word tells us, right? I mean, because there is, like, we are able to overcome because he's overcome, right? So his power, his grace extends to us.
Well said.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's where I get back to it, and that's what maybe if we saw the whole clip, maybe that's where he gets. That's where I choose to try to believe the best in people. I want to believe the best in John MacArthur here, and think that that's what he's trying to drive home is like, hey, guys, Christ has sacrificed himself for us so that we can get past things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where we need to stop holding on to it, let it go. Or even if you're not holding on tight to it, if it's just you don't know what to do with it, let's put it at the foot of the cross. That's what I hope his intention in the full message was. James, I want to hear kind of your thoughts on what the body can do as well. Yeah, again, shout out to B+. We're going to get some of these comments up on the screen. And everyone else, I see there's more people watching, man. Make sure you hit the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. We want to shout you out. But James, what do you think, man?
Yeah, man. I think this is an ample time for the body to be that community for people who struggle with, these issues, these things. And so my pastor personally, he's shared with us that, him and his wife, they go to therapy. I'll be honest with you. I was early in my faith. I was like, only, you're crazy if you go to therapy. I had this stigma of this, or this thought in my head that like only crazy people go to therapy. But, it really benefits people when you talk, when you get these things out. And to be honest, a lot of people that battle, mental health issues, whether it be suicidal thoughts, things of that nature. I'll be honest, even from my own self and my own experiences, when I get into a very depressed state, I isolate myself from people. And, but that is the time when I have to really check myself and step out in faith and surround myself with people who are going to build me up. Just like Swiss had said, man, about, feeling down. Exactly. Yeah. And then, you go to Bible study and it's like, you felt like you got built right back up. And so I think, as a community, as a body, that's where we have to really step in and just be that hand to someone, and understand where people are coming from too, man, because, obviously not everybody's issues are nobody's issues are parallel, but just be understanding and loving through it all. I think a lot of times we can just think of irrationalities and just automatically place judgment on someone without actually really understanding what that person is going through. I'll be honest, like a lot of times conversations I'll have with people, I won't even say nothing. I'm a better listener than I am a speaker. So I'd rather just listen to them, hear what they have to say, and then process it that way. And if, God gives me whatever words to speak at that point, then I'll share what God's given me. But, I think that's just where it has to be, that us as a body, we have to be that welcoming space, safe space, like Swiss said.
Yeah. It's funny. My church pivoted this week and we did a thing on mental health this Sunday and next week. And I was like, man, we're going right after MacArthur. Okay, interesting. And I thought it was interesting how our pastor addressed both sides of the room. Like, hey, there's probably some of you thinking here, oh, great, we're gonna talk about mental health, which, and he kind of tried to appease both sides of the aisle. And I thought he did a pretty good job at it. And B+ just was saying here, like, that the podcast he listens to on ADD suggests, diet, quiet time, eating right. And that's stuff that he talked about on stage too. And that's something I struggle with is ADD as well. Like, I have to read a ton for seminary. Like I pretty much have to read a full book every week. Like it's wild how much I have to read. And if I don't have an audio book for it, I really struggle. Because one, I sub-vocalize in my head. So I say the word in my head as I read it, which slows my reading down. And then two, I'm always thinking of like 5 other things when I'm reading. So then I'm like, wait, what did I just read? And I don't comprehend it very well. And so that's just a big struggle for me. And like, so I just need to pray that away. Like, I mean, sure. Is it possible? Yes. Is it practical? Yes. Does it always work? No. Like there are times where I literally pray, Lord, please help me focus. Let me get in the word. And then I'm like doing all these other techniques to do it. Turning on music, chewing gum, things like that, where I'm like looking up at YouTube, how to like figure that out, going on walks, stuff like that. And so there's definitely like non-spiritual things that you can do to address some of the things that MacArthur says, but that doesn't mean you need to neglect the spiritual side as a Christian either.
Yeah, so I want to build a little bit on what James was saying here, and I'll say this first, that I hope that this comes across the way it's intended, because it's intended as encouragement, right? Like, I totally agree with what you guys are saying here about, hey, we need to speak with others. And I say this almost as a reminder to myself as well, right? Like, we need to make sure we speak to God, but then after we speak, we put ourselves in position to hear the response to it, right? I think we're real quick to be in a spot and just cry out to God. And this is what we need. I think about Kanye saying, I prayed for all these things and Jesus never showed up. Were you waiting on Jesus? Were you putting yourself in a spot where you can hear him, right? Like, I could text
or were you praying for his will to be done,
right?
And when it wasn't done the way you wanted, you weren't happy with it.
Exactly.
But I think about, like, if I text Swiss a question and then I throw my phone in a drawer and I walk away and don't look at it, and then the next time we talk, be like, man, I'm so angry with you, you didn't respond. And he's like, I sent you like 6 texts, and I pull it out. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't do a very good job of trying to get that answer from you, right? I don't know.
Or you're impatient for the answer.
Right. Yeah. So, but we got to be in that place to hear and accept, because I think if we are working on that relationship, if we are hearing, and we're communicating with God, he's going to point us, he's going to give us answers if we take the time to make sure we recognize that that's what it is. And we got to let some of this stuff go and realize we can't do it on our own. I think ego gets in the way too, where we want to deal with all this stuff on our own. We feel like it's on our shoulders. And again, I go back to him saying, it's not, put it on my shoulders. But what's the follow-up to that? You don't put it on and walk away. You put it on his shoulders and you follow him.
Yep.
So,
hey, way to wrap that segment.
I tried. Man, yeah. So we're gonna move on. Again, shout out to everyone hanging out with us. James, man, give us a quick rundown, man. What's been going on in your world?
Man, God's been keeping us active, man. I'll be honest, man. This past, last March, I started co-hosting Elevate Life Radio, which is a radio station that was based out of our church, Elevate Life Church, located in South Sacramento. Shout out to my ELC family. But my pastor had a vision that there wasn't a lot of Christian hip hop stations or anything like that was really feeding that community in our area. And so he took it upon himself to start this station. And like I said, last March, took it inserted myself in, or he inserted me in. And
that's how it works at church. So you get voluntold.
Yeah. And I volunteered, you get voluntold. Exactly, man. Be ready. But I tell you, man, God has just opened so many doors, and a message that has been really spoken heavily, that's been heavy upon my heart this year, is especially my pastor has been just talking about this. This is the year of the upgrade. And I tell you, man, God has done some tremendous things. He has opened up doors. Obviously, we are on FiveTwenty radio. You can catch us on there every other Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard. But,
shout out to our guy, Mr. C Live, holding it down.
Exactly. But we just announced too that we are now a part of the Crown Radio family as well. So they are rebroadcasting our show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. And so there's a lot of Eastern times that I got to get used to, man, because there's a big 3-hour difference for us. So
Right.
but man, God has been just opening a lot of doors with it, and yeah, man. And plus, I do music too, so
I was gonna say, you stay
throw that little bit in there.
You staying busy with the music as well, man. You boys at Polished Arrow, man. Y'all stay busy, which means I stay busy. As well. What's tell them what your latest music that's out and what's coming.
Yeah, so the latest single I dropped, which was the 5th of this past month, dropped the Light Broken Finger remix. This is the first single that I released that I'm working on a project right now. So 10 years ago, I dropped a project called The State of Address. Um, so what I'm working on right now currently is a remix project for that album. Going to be 5 songs off of that, but that we're remixing. But the Light remix was the first one off of that, and then this month I got a new one that I'm going to be dropping with my label mates, Precise and Rich Cologne. So I'm excited for that.
Shout out to Pro and Rich. You're cool, I guess. So
Dude, how like does Precise drop like 70 projects a year? Like,
Man,
he drops like
autofocus.
70 projects a week, I think.
he
That
has
dude
been
works with
active.
everybody, man. He works with everybody, man. It's crazy.
He's been active, and he's got a new project dropping next week.
Gosh, I'm
He
not
does.
surprised.
He does with Illustrate. Shout out to Shadow of the Locust, man. So, love it, man. So go make sure you check out the new music from Just James. Make sure you tune in to Elevate Life Radio. But let's get into it. So before I put this on the screen, I'm gonna put a little disclaimer in here. 520 and 520 iXc and all of its subsidiaries, including Big Swiss CHH, do not endorse all of the comments that you may see underneath the tweet on your screen. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there for you.
That's a good idea, Eric.
So let's take a look at this, man. So okay, so I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you the story. I saw this tweet. It actually showed up as a notification on my X from our guy Q Flow. Shout out to Q Flow and Philly in the building. But he said, laugh out loud, this rap beef is tearing CHH apart. I've been kind of out of the loop. I wasn't exactly sure what he was meaning, so I put it in our 520 chat on Telegram. I was like, fellas, what's happening? And yeah, the answer I wish I could say the answer surprised me. Not so much surprising. Maybe a little disappointing. I don't know. We're gonna talk about it. But Swiss was putting me on game, as the kids say.
I did.
So Swiss, tell us a little bit about the meaning behind this.
Okay, I'm gonna take you all the way back to Big Sean's control. What happened? No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. No, all right, here's what I'll say about the beef is the meme game has been through the roof. It is hilarious, and I like it. It's funny. I'll also say this caveat. Rap is a competition sport. I get why people are entertained by this. I just want to leave space for that, right? Like if we can all sit around and watch basketball and football and enjoy competition and then try to say that hip hop isn't a competition sport, you're fooling yourself. You don't understand what hip hop is. So with that said, I get it. I just want to say I understand. I get how people can get wrapped up into this and really want to sit and dissect stuff. One of the biggest things that I love about hip hop is breaking down metaphors, entendres. That's what makes hip hop great. And in fact, that is the reason why I always argue that hip hop is the greatest musical art form for its writing potential. Country, pop, rock, they cannot write lyrics the way that hip hop artists can write lyrics, and they can't do it in the stanza style. They can't do it in the breakdowns, the way the cadences. It's the best medium to do that. And so I just want to like put my cards on the table. I have a pretty high Genius score on Genius because I'll sit down and break down lyrics all day. And so it's really hard for me not to dive in and do it for this. But I was on vacation and I was chilling and I was kind of keeping up. I haven't even listened to all the songs. I listened to like 4 or 5 of them. And then I was like, that's cool. That one's kind of cool. That one's kind of cool. But anyways, what had happened was
Heathen out here listening to
what
this.
had happened was we started seeing Christian hip hop artists getting the little beefs about the beef that led to more beef within us.
So what's the beef? Swiss.
Uh,
I'm just
beef-
saying a nice slab of beef with some Swiss on it right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names,
Mm.
but let's just say there was some Christian rappers calling out other Christian rappers saying that they wanted to battle them.
Well, let's talk about. Well, make sure people know what that original beef is, though.
Oh, what the Drake and Kendrick beef is?
Oh, there it is. I was saying, so it's Drake and Kendrick. Did we say that already?
Drake and Kendrick. And what's funny is, there's a lot of guys that love Kendrick Lamar in Christian hip hop, as they should, because he's a great writer. He is the second coming of Tupac. I hope that doesn't offend you, Just James, on the West Coast. But I think as far as like the street poet, Kendrick is that, and then you got Drake, who's the Billboard 40 top pop, as most Def said, great for listening to in Target music. And so they were just going back and forth. Drake and J. Cole dropped a song called First Person Shooter, where they said they were part of the big three, leaving space for Kendrick. Kendrick responds saying, there is no big three, it's just me. And then Drake drop a diss, then Kendrick drop a diss, and then they kind of went back and forth. And it got pretty spicy, and it got pretty personal. And it got everyone riled up. Everyone in their camps started being like, nah, Drake's better. Nah, Kendrick's better. Nah, y'all are fooling yourselves. A lot of cognitive dissonance was happening here. And it got people riled up a certain way. And this is where I was like, man, there was a point in this where I said, y'all need to take this lyric deciphering skill and take that to the scriptures. Like, I know a lot of the...
Careful, Swiss.
I just call it like I see it. And I'm not saying that the people, I wasn't naming anyone in particular. And the reason I said that, and I kind of did a follow-up the next day, is like, it's a reminder for me. Because there was a point in my life where I could tell you everything about the Skywalker bloodline. I could tell you everything about the MCU, and I could probably state 50 years of Marvel Comics history. I probably have 10,000 comic books in my garage right now. And there was a point in my life where I knew more about that than I knew about the Bible. And that convicted me. And so the tweet was really to say, hey, if you're really good at this and you don't know your Bible, hey, you have a skill here that you should be applying to boost your spirituality. And most of the guys that I know that are really into this do that. And so that's why I said this isn't a shot at anyone. But there is some idolization happening. I guarantee I'm gonna pull my Twitter up right now. I bet you guys within 10 tweets someone's talking about it. It's been my Twitter timeline for 2 weeks, and it's first one, Kendrick Lamar, first tweet. I didn't even have to scroll. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild. Like, it's starting to die down. I don't know if you heard this, Eric, but someone got shot at Drake's house the other day. And Universal Media Group has essentially asked Drake to shut up. Kendrick won. Stop it. You're losing us money. So that's kind of where it's at right now.
Okay. Man. Okay. I've got thoughts. And I got stuff that I'm probably gonna say something that Mitch Durrell's gonna call me out on and make me think about it again. Shout out to
We
Mitch.
love you, Mitch. Mitch.
That's not a shot at Mitch. Don't let's not escalate this whole thing, okay? So before I say anything,
Mitch gonna write a song about us, dog.
Dude,
Watch out.
I mean, it's probably not gonna do much for your career, but okay.
Like Swiss got holes in his body. He's cheesy, dog. And I'm gonna be like, damn, bro, he got me.
So James, okay, you said that you've been in a lot of conversations regarding this. I mean, I do think that we got to address this from the Christian hip hop, the Christian culture angle of this, and that's where I know I'm going to say some stuff. But James, like, what's been the conversation? What's been your thoughts on all this, specifically as it relates to CHH, Christian culture, and the reaction there?
It has been overwhelming, to say the least. I will say that, like Swiss says, man, I get on my phone and I'm first in the morning, people are talking about it like first thing in the morning. I'm like, man, like I haven't even like I haven't even woken up yet. Like I'm just I'm still trying to dial in for the day, man. And so it has been a lot. I'll be honest, even amongst my wife and my oldest daughter, who's a huge Kendrick Lamar fan, huge. And so we've had a lot of conversations, to say the least. And there's been certain points where I've had to shut it down myself because man, we're going at it about certain things, and I'm like, man, this is not really productive, like as far as for my own like spiritual well-being and whatnot. And so is it entertaining? Yeah, like there is that angle there. So it's like I honestly I've had to dial back a little bit from it, to be honest. This past weekend, obviously, he dropped Kendrick had dropped that last one and just was going in on him, going in
That
on
one
Drake.
was that Meet the Grams? Was that the last one?
That
That he did?
no,
Oh
it was
no.
They Not Like Us. That
Yeah.
one.
I
Yeah.
gotta say this, dude. I gotta say it. I hate that beat. I know everyone loves that beat. That beat sucks. I hate it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna catch a lot of flack for that.
yeah. It's all good, man. It's all good. We forgive you.
I need it. I need forgiveness on that.
If you're from the West Coast, you appreciate that. But yeah, but no, it's just like it's been a lot. So like Swiss said, with the Drake's last one, I think it was kind of like his white flag, like saying, "I'm done. This is it. This is pretty much it. What it is." But looking at it from a viewpoint from the Christian artist or the Christian hip hop artist, yeah, it is. I agree with Q Flow. It has caused a lot of division and divide, man. And I think it's all in playful fun. I really hope so. I really hope there ain't like real animosity, built up from this. Because if that's the case, then I think we really need to just check our own hearts and whatnot in that instance. And as a believer, we got to be the bigger person, and go reconcile those things. But from a hip hop head, even though I grew up in the West Coast, man, I grew up on Biggie, Nas, the Jays, Rakims, and even on the West Coast side, Tupac's, the Ice Cubes, and I remember all those beefs back in those days. And so
That Ice Cube
like,
Common beef when
yeah.
he had beef with Common. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I remember all those beefs back in the day. So from a hip hop head, I love it. I ain't gonna lie. There's a part of me that really loves it. But then also too, I have to like understand too, is like I said previously, is this really productive for my own spiritual well-being? The enemy, man, is very cunning, and can use things like this to cause divide, obviously. And so I think from a believer standpoint, man, we just gotta we gotta understand like where to place it in our I guess in our priorities or whatever it may be. We gotta just understand where to place it, because when it comes down to it, this doesn't directly affect me. This doesn't directly affect my daughter. This doesn't directly affect my wife. This doesn't directly affect Q Flow or Mitch or anybody. We're just inserting ourselves into it, and emotion. And I think a lot of us are just emotionally reacting to these things without really thinking about some of the things that we're saying. So yeah.
That's true, man. I think it's interesting how emotional people get over other people's emotional stuff. Like, I think it's one thing. B plus has a comment here about it is fun to watch like an NBA series, but once it got to the family stuff, like no re-listens, got too much slander, glad it's over. I 100% agree with that. It's like, man, now it's getting personal. And I knew as soon as it got to that, I was like, somebody's going to get shot. Like somebody's going to get shot over this. It happens every time. And so we shouldn't be surprised. And
that's the thing. that's the thing for me. Like for most of us, we've been listening to hip hop for 20, 30 years, right? So you gotta tell me some mainstream worldly rappers got a problem with each other. Tell me more. Please tell me more. I'm shocked by this. No, this is just par for the course. This is what happens, right? But whenever I see something like Hugh, I know that it was probably a little tongue in cheek here with the post, but because it is CHH being torn apart. No, however, there is this back and forth that happens, and at the end of the day, it's like, who cares? What's it got to do with it? What does it got to do with believers? Nothing really. So why are we putting it on this pedestal of this place of like, this really impacts my life, or man, oh, this is worth me spending my time on. And I think that's where, and I say this, and I hope that people know this over the years of me. It's like, I want CHH to win, right? Because I think it's a part of Christian culture that has the ability to really have true impact, right? But for the naysayers of CHH, honestly, this kind of stuff is fuel to their fire, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we see when they open it up and all that CHH Twitter's talking about is Kendrick and Drake, and I don't know, like Swiss said, like get into the scriptures, break them down like that. Like we're not talking about scripture, we're not talking about the things that are lovely, as Paul told us. Like,
yeah, and anyone who's about to like hear what you're saying, Eric, and be like, oh, we have to talk about Jesus all the time. That's not what you're saying either.
No, but it should be sometimes.
Yeah. Well, here's something that I noticed is a lot of Christian music got dropped the last 2 weeks, and I haven't seen anybody talk about it.
On good.
And that's a bummer, dude. That was a bummer to me.
Just James dropped a great remix.
Big L, yeah.
Big L.
Like Polished Arrow Music is dropping bangers every week, pretty much.
Yep. 350 probably dropped, easily going to be in my top 10 at the end of the year. And nobody talked about it. And I reached out to him personally and I was like, hey, I just want you to know I've had this album on repeat for 2 weeks straight, son. Like, I can't stop listening to it.
And the thing I know about music that comes out from Polished Arrow, right, is that, dude, at the heart of everything they drop, you're going to get the gospel.
Yep.
It's going to be edifying for you.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that not the stuff that excites us and pumps us up? Instead, we're like, oh, man, let's hear these guys tear each other down a little bit.
Well, I mean, I get the appeal, right? It's two of the biggest people in the world that are at the top of their game trying to take each other down in like a lyrical battle. Like I understand the appeal.
But like you said, though, hip hop hasn't figured out how to do that without it escalating into something more dangerous.
Yep.
To where
the underground crew can do that. Like if I used to watch Scribble Jam when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys know what Scribble Jam was, but it was like this Midwest underground rap battle that Idea won all the time because he was this real smart rapper. Rest in peace, Idea. If you've never heard of this rapper, look him up. It's spelled Eyedea. Died way too young of a drug overdose. But this kid would
public service announcement real quick, Swiss, and I'll let you get back to your regularly scheduled programming. Man, make sure I know how to say your names, please. Please do it. Go
on. But they used to do these rap battles that were actually like pretty clean. Actually, there's if you look them up, we were talking about Murs before show started. There's one where Idea just rips Murs, and Murs just loses it laughing because he knows he lost. Like, and he takes it with like this, like, you got me, and that doesn't happen anymore because the pride part of the hip hop culture won't allow someone to ever put up the white flag.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I like what B Plus said, man, about Cole. We we're especially in hip hop, we're so quick to champion negativity. And no one's really talking about Cole. I feel like, I'll be honest, I feel like Cole is the winner in this whole beef, to be honest, because he stepped away and he knew, and I'll be honest, I don't think he probably didn't lose any money from it either. So, I mean, or fans or any respect.
Yeah,
or
he probably
anything like
lost
that.
a little bit of fans. He definitely
He
lost
might
some
have
respect,
a little bit,
but
maybe a little, just from like the real true hip hop,
sure.
you know, heads. But I think it's one of those things that we need that's something we need a champion. It's like, man, this guy, like, the things that he said too, like, you know, when he stepped away and was like, man, like, you know, like he was
Not
the
right in
bigger
my
man.
soul.
Like,
yeah,
he was the bigger person that came out of it. And it's like, man, why aren't we talking about that? You know, but
yeah. I think you know what was interesting about that is a lot of Christian hip hop people criticize Cole for doing that. And I was like, shouldn't you be like praising him for doing that? Like, he's talking about how it doesn't feel right in his soul.
like,
you know what I mean? And
Dude,
I saw a meme.
Say the right words, Swiss. Say the right words. Shouldn't we be doing this? Like,
yeah,
just call it. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's crazy that some people criticize that. I can understand criticizing it with a secular mind instead. Like, I could see how other people would think that, but applaud him anyway. I saw a meme on Instagram yesterday that just got me, and it was Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone 2 in the limo with the phone and the pizza, and it said J. Cole right now, and I just died laughing because he's like, man, he dodged that bullet. Good for him. Let him go work on whatever he's working on.
Yeah, I do think. I don't know. I just think there's opportunities that the genre of Christian hip hop is missing, and when things like this happen, I think it makes it more noticeable, because this is the stuff that people on the outside see, right? And we need to be aware of that. We need to be intentional about that, and really consider. Because I get it. Like, we all know that there's all these like chat groups and Telegram groups and et cetera that happens. It's one thing about conversations in there, right? But putting it just out on socials, especially when that's all you're putting. If someone goes to your page and that is all they see, what is the message that is sending? Because whether you intend for that message to be there or not, that's the message that they see, right? So you got to be real intentional about what we're putting out there for the public, right? Because we're trying to convince these people that, hey, this over here, this isn't the way you need to go, because there's something much better over here. And if all we're pushing them is in this direction, we're not accomplishing that goal, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say this though. I think Q was just trolling, but that's just
I'm certain. But here's the thing: with every good troll, I mean, it's kind of like every good lie, right? Like, there's a kernel of truth in every good lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
I like what Dayton said though. Dayton popped on. This was like right after I posted my thing, and he was like, he was saying, man, this stuff's just got me feeling right now. I'm too into the beef. Like, I'm going to step away for a bit, get back in the word. And I was like, hey, good on you, man. Like, good to recognize it, call it out, let people know that you've recognized it, and like lead from the front. And Dayton is a rap fan. You know what I mean? Like, he's not just one of the best lyricists in our genre or in rap period, but like, he's a fan of it. He's a student of it. So for him to say that, I thought that was a cool way to lead from the front.
Well, and I like and appreciate that you took the time. I like and appreciate that you took the time to acknowledge that as well, like in a public forum. You know, like we need people to see us, you know, kind of big up and supporting and backing up other believers. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because if you went, I believe that's the one. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Swiss. I believe that is the one though. When I was scrolling through some of the comments, people were like, "Well, why? Why do you need to do this?" You know, acting. I'm not saying people within CHH. I think it might have been, you know,
just random people,
but almost like mocking Dayton. Like, I don't see why you need to do that over this. Blah 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 blah. That's an opportunity to explain it to them.
Yeah. Right? Idols come quick, man. You can and idols can be anything. You know, I can make an idol out of comic books, food, sports, anything. And the minute I start seeing like, man, I'm thinking way too much about this thing. I'm spending way too much time. I'm spending 80% of my thoughts on this thing. Like if 80% of my tweets are going to something, like that's an idol, man. That's an idol.
Yeah.
Just objective. I'm not trying to be like call anyone out or be mean. That's just a fact. Like that's not.
Yep.
And we don't want CHH feeling bad, man, because it's not just a CHH thing, right? There's
Not.
There's plenty of stuff in the body as a whole that goes on. I'm looking at you, soccer moms that get in beefs over these HGTV shows, or I don't know what you people are doing out here, but you know, just check your heart. You know, check your intentions, man. I mean, we don't want to drag it out, man, but it is interesting. I think the best way that I've come to try to look at these situations is to realize, hey, these are opportunities put in front of us to get a little better, right?
Yeah.
So are we going to take advantage of them or not? Man, if you're watching the replay of this, make sure you leave us a comment on this, man. We want to know your thoughts on the whole, maybe not necessarily the beef between Kendrick and Drake, because honestly, I don't care. You can put the comments there, but I don't care.
Or let us know if you made an idol out of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Like it's okay. There's no shame.
B plus. Let's shame B plus here. He said so. BBL Drizzy is an idol. He listened to it 47 times. So
47's a lot, bro.
You need to go back.
The fact that he knew how many times too. Come on, man.
Right.
I think he's messing with us.
Like go listen to our April podcast about repentance and think about that. Okay, B plus. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, man. But no, we love y'all, man. Fellas, any final thoughts on any of this that y'all want to throw in? I mean, I know I don't want to sit here and beat a dead horse, but I don't want to miss out on anything either.
Yeah, you can make. I want to even say this. This is a final thought. You can make CHH an idol. You know, you can plug in Christian hip hop and excuse yourself.
Apparently, B plus is listening as we speak.
He's listening right now. But like, you know, you can excuse. This isn't a shot at people who have the conviction of not listening to secular music, but like there are people that are like, I don't listen to secular music. All I listen to is Christian hip hop. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. But you can also turn it into, this is how I get the word to me. And it's like, nah, that's not a replacement for scripture. That's not a replacement for prayer. That's not a replacement. And I don't know anyone who does that, but I'm just saying that there probably are people out there that do that. And I would say that also is an idol. And so, you know, we need to be careful about where we spend our time.
It was interesting. This might be a conversation for a different time, but there was like a couple of videos that just randomly popped up on my YouTube feed talking about how Christian hip hop is like not of God, it's demonic. And I was like, that's an odd thing for the algorithm to feed me, but okay. I don't know. I watched a little bit of it. I was like, this is ridiculous because they weren't giving you any kind of scripture to back up those claims. So I moved on. But
they never do.
It was interesting. I'm just saying, I was like, what is happening today? You know, knowing that we were going to have this conversation tonight, you know, I was like, okay, I see what's happening. I see it. So, but yeah, man.
I think we should change the thumbnail. I think we should put Kendrick and Drake on the thumbnail next to MacArthur. And we should say, do you have PTSD from the beef?
Oh,
I think more people will watch this episode on repeat if we do that. Just want to throw that out there. Also, we did decide to do the Kendrick beef like last minute, so
it's true.
Yeah.
But hey, we're nothing if not flexible here at FiveTwenty iXc. So
let's clickbait them.
Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't we clickbait people? We want people to watch the show, right?
Listen, we will not clickbait you, but if you want to put some money into this bad boy so we can be more ridiculous,
I'm not about clickbait.
Yeah,
Ruslan does it all the time.
Yeah. We don't have a Patreon, but if you want to start us one, we will accept those. I don't know what I'm saying. James, go ahead, man. What's your final thoughts, dude?
Oh man, no man, just man, I just hope everyone was blessed by the conversations, man, that we had, and hopefully, you know, take some nuggets from it, man. You know, that we got to be mindful of we're putting in front of us, and how much time and energy we're putting into it, you know. And so, yeah, man, God is good
all the time.
Yes, sir. You know, I think back in the history of hip hop, and I noticed that people, you know, they stopped coming at Chingy after he got into that beef. I wonder why people don't go after him some more. It's because they know, man. They know what's going to happen. So,
You know the bars he's about to drop on them.
but no, man. You know, a lot of stuff, man. And I know we kind of had a couple of very different topics here tonight, but I think it's important, man. There's so many things. I think that the more we do this show, we're realizing that there's a lot of different, very important topics out there that do impact Christian culture. So I really appreciate the fact that we have a chance to come on here on a weekly basis and have these conversations, man. I appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate the whole squad. Shout out to Zero for Hire, KD, King David the Vessel. They'll be back on with us soon, I'm sure. But yeah, man, like hopefully FiveTwenty iXc has been a blessing for y'all that have been not only hanging out with us here, but you know, listening. So we're trying, man. We're trying. So we appreciate that. Again, you want to get plugged in with what's going on, stay up on the latest. You see it there at the top corner of your screen, 520club.com/substack will get you signed up to our email newsletter. So make sure you do that. I know I've been slipping on that the last couple of weeks. It's the end of the school year, man. And as a teacher, I mean, I think a lot of people know I'm a teacher, but if you don't, I'm a teacher. And it's the end of the school year, and it's a busy, crazy, hectic time, man. So get off my back a little bit, man. Show me some grace, for crying out loud. I'll get you a new newsletter soon. Okay, I'll do that. James, I'm sorry, man. This was a night to come on with this dude because I'm apparently in one of those moods where I say stuff that I think is funny and not everyone else does, so it's fine. So, but I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here, man. I always appreciate you and the support you've shown, man, over the years. So, hop back on anytime, man.
Man, we love it, man. Would love to. I want to throw a plug out there.
Yes, sir.
For those who do follow us at Elevate Life Radio, we just dropped an interview with Salachi Vaz, Rapzilla freshman this year. And so check out that conversation. We do talk a little bit about the beef and all that, but really hitting it from a spiritual context. But we got some other things in store too, man. We got an interview coming up with Unique Music. He's a producer out here, based out of LA, who's been dropping a lot of good music lately. And then we got a special one coming up pretty soon, but I'm gonna be a little hush hush on that one.
Okay.
I love
Salachi, man. I gotta listen to that one. I love Salachi Vaz, man. She's great.
Oh yeah,
and
man.
She's sweet. She's super nice.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, check out that conversation. It's a 2-parter, so you gotta watch both parts.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Eric's trying to get this sign off out, but he's all muted.
Hey, you know, it happens. I thought I clicked it. I don't know, man. Technology's hard, dude. I don't know. But no, hey, shout out to everyone. Appreciate you. Even if you're watching it after the fact, make sure you hit the comment section. Like I said, let us know that you're here. We want to interact with you. We will be back here on Monday night to hang out as long as conflicts don't arise again. I'm going to try everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen on my end. So hopefully we'll be back here. Yeah, man. So for my guys, Big Swiss, Zero for Hire, and KD, King David the Vessel, Eric Boston, FiveTwenty iXc, Indie Christian Culture, you already know what it is.